is everyone trying to put on more size in the off season? And then just speak to how nutrition might change in the off season.
So for a union and league, it's a little bit different. Like if you're an international rugby player, you don't have an off season. You get 5 weeks of leave between seasons, and then you're straight into Super Rugby, and you have a shortened Super Rugby pre-season. So it's really hard unless you get injured or you're not selected for a period of time in the international season to actually have a block where you can physically develop. League is a little bit different in the sense that they don't necessarily have the half a year international commitment, so they can get a more significant pre-season block in. So that is your time, away from the playing load to try and physically develop that. And when you're sort of between 17 to 21 I think any S&C would say that's some pretty pivotal time to try and put on mass on someone.
Let's pivot and just talk about that. all these teenagers going that have aspirations to be a great athlete in the field of rugby and rugby league, then. Let's speak to them.
Speak to them.
How do they bulk up?
So you need to be eating more than what you currently are. Is likely
in the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, go on. Tell us about that, though.
That, and you want to be you want hypertrophy stimulus in your programming, which is essentially what you're trying to do is stimulate your muscle to grow. So not necessarily get stronger, that'll happen as well, but you're actually trying to create more of you. So a strength program will make your existing muscle strong, but we want to make more muscle full stop, which requires more energy than what you're currently consuming, because if you consume the energy you're currently and you don't change that, you're only going to maintain the same size because there's no surplus energy to make surplus tissue. And
you'll start to get tired and won't recover.
Exactly. So you want the right message to the muscle to grow. So make sure you get a great program from a great, S&C or whoever does your programming. And then you need to be fueling accordingly and really simply eat more and try and eat in and around your training sessions. That's ultimately what it sort of boils down to. And if you're a male, you're gonna keep growing until you're at least 22. So, and at
least I get a teenage boy. It's brilliant, mate. God, I love it. 6 egg omelets.
It's insane.
My son. So there was a rugby league player that posted on his social media that he has 5 egg omelets every day.
And now he has.
So my son has 6. 6 egg omelets every day.
Oh, that's funny.
But sorry, just for the parents that heard you say, and then here comes my son saying, "Dad, I just need to eat more." And I'm like, "Yeah, but mate, you've got to have quality food. Eat real food."
Exactly.
Give a little more guidance for us parents to say back to our sons, "Mate, you've got to eat real food." Give us a little bit more guidance.
It's a great point, because this is I do work with a lot of particularly young males and their parents, and almost all of them are on supplements as well. So this is where we don't typically recommend supplements to anyone under the age of 18 for a variety of different reasons.
Creatine included?
Creatine included.
Really?
That said, I am open-minded and also realistic.
Just to get research on a group of teenagers.
Exactly.
Imagine saying to all these parents, "Hey, give us your kid."
Exactly. I'm going to dose it with creatine. So if you are going to use it, I would be conservative with the dose, as in, the lower, closer to 5 grams a day. No need to do necessarily a loading dose, but just make sure you get the diet right first. So, if they're only eating beige food, they're going to be up against it. From a recovery perspective, you're not getting all those wonderful micronutrients that come through your fruit, your veg, and your more complex grains if they're just having basically white protein and pasta, rice or bread.
Gut health as well. You got to get
exactly
the American and the British Gut Project that's landed on. You need 30 different plants a week.
Yeah, which is easy to do.
No, it's not that hard at all. You have a smoothie. I have a smoothie every day. I have 8.
Yeah.
And that includes chia seeds, linseeds, sometimes hemp seeds. So I get 3 right there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then your spinach, avocado, banana, berries.
Yeah.
So easy.
It's not tricky. Yeah. It's not.
People get overwhelmed by that. 30 different, and then just say I have a salad with carrot, cucumber, capsicum's the best thing in the world. And then I'm counting olive oil as well. It's easy. It's not as hard. Sorry, it's not easy. But it's not as hard as what people believe it is.
I think the challenge we have in 2026 is time. We have become such a fast-paced society, and everything needs to be done yesterday. And a lot of that's driven by, work demands. You then throw in trying to feed, a teenage boy and the volume of food they eat, and then trying to get access to that food. It can be, I fully appreciate how hard it can be to try and get that diversity in. But if you're starting at, 5 plants a week, just set a really achievable goal of getting to 10 and just slowly step it up. You want to create new habits that then in the long run become behaviour change, rather than trying to jump to behaviour change straight away and failing, because it's just a big leap. Like you're setting yourself up for failure, not success. So incremental change is more likely to be a determinant of long-term success. And it could be, the age-old tricks of like hiding vegetables in kids' foods, like continue to do it for yourself. Like if you, in your smoothie, and Nick White used to blow up at me because I'd put spinach in the smoothies and it hated. But you can't.
He put a lot in, did you?
He thinks he thinks you could. I think it was more that he felt like I was treating him like a child.
Yeah.
But I promised you I wasn't. I was just trying to maximise the
You weren't speaking to me.
fiber
You were speaking
sources.
to him.
Yeah,
I promise you I weren't. We used to, my wife and I, for a while there, myself, a clinical nutritionist here and a dentist, we started the Weston Price Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of Weston A. Price.
No.
Anyway, he wrote a great book, Physical and Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, Weston A. Price. Anyway, around the world there's the Weston Price Foundation. Doesn't matter, but it's to disseminate the teachings of Weston Price about whole food diets and stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
Anyway, so one of the foods that he prescribed as well to people because of their high nutritional content was liver. Oh, yeah. So my wife is the Italian, and she used to make awesome, still does, awesome liver pate. Oh, yeah. And the kids didn't like it, so we were sneaking, everyone else was sneaking spinach into a smoothie. We'll put liver pate in there, you name it, rice dishes, pasta dishes, and they'd be eating, we're like, yeah. That's awesome. Speak to us about smoothies. Are you a fan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm about to hear that.
I mean, it depends.
Tell us why.
Depends on what you put in them.
Sorry.
Some of the smoothies.
Don't put lollies.
Yeah.
Lollies and milk. It's not going to work.
No.
So give us a good smoothie and then tell us why you like them.
So a little bit of protein. So whether it be... A little
bit from where?
Whether it be a yogurt or a milk or a protein powder, if you're using a protein powder.
Some of them, if there's a mutant on the front of it and it's got a paragraph of ingredients like that, the protein powder? Yeah, I sort of stay away from them. But if it's got a line where it says maybe whey protein isolate, stevia and dehydrated strawberries or cacao, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Generally, you're trying to, in an ideal world, we would only eat food that, came out of the ground or off a tree or out of an animal.
We've established real we don't live in an ideal world, though.
We don't, no. So this is where, supplements can be an adjunct to improving your diet, and particularly for females that struggle to get adequate protein intake in to support, if they are a very active female trying to recover adequately. So this is where they can play a role from a convenience perspective. So a good quality, as least processed as possible, whey protein isolate is what I would recommend.
Why isolate and not concentrate? Just out of curiosity.
Purely just based on the studies around muscle protein synthesis and whey protein isolate.
Higher in BCAAs. Isoleucine, in particular leucine.
And just the rate at which it's digested as well. So there's so protein powder, a milk if you drink milk, calcium sources are important. I'd put some oats in there. I'd put whatever my fruit is. So maybe a frozen berries is generally what I like to choose. I usually put my creatine in my smoothie.
Me too. So much easier, huh?
Yep. And then some spices like some nutmeg, for example.
Get out of here. Crazy.
Yeah, just a bit of flavour. And also if you get a good quality spice, one that's not adulterated like a lot of the spices are, you'll have some health benefits through the spices as well.
When you say adulterated, you mean irradiated? Is that what you mean?
No, so the spice industry is another fascinating rabbit hole. It's kind of like olive oil. Yeah. There's a real I did this spice appreciation course probably close to 20 years ago now. And it was with a guy called Herbie in Sydney.
Get out, his name was Herbie.
Dead set, Herbie's
Herbs and
Spices. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
And and he wrote the Herb Bible, which is this book I have at home. It's phenomenal. So he took us on this world tour, virtually of the herbs and spices industry. And a lot of the spices we buy have either got fillers in them or are technically off already. They've been sitting on a shelf exposed to air. They're really they don't like air, the spices, like a lot of other products that can oxidize. So a lot of the herbs and spices, particularly the cheaper ones, have got fillers in them, other things that aren't even on the label that sort of help bulk it out. Now saffron was one of them. Saffron's...
Yeah, it's so expensive. I'm always dubious.
Yeah. So some of them aren't even saffron. And I actually bought some chili threads the other day at the shop at great expense just to try what they were. And for all intents and purposes, looked exactly like saffron, just a little bit thicker. And I was like, it wasn't spicy. So it could have been plastic for all I know. So the idea is...
Plastic's not a good placebo.
No. I don't recommend plastic.
We're removing plastic from the placebo altogether.
Yes, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah.
Exactly. So, if you get a good quality spice that has a little bit of traceability in its origins as well. Cinnamon was another one. A lot of the time it's marketed as cinnamon and it's actually something called cassia bark. So when you walk into a supermarket and you smell... like the donuts and that really cinnamony smell, that's actually not cinnamon, that's apparently cassia. So it's very pungent, but it doesn't taste like cinnamon. So it doesn't have that really beautiful kind of like sweet but earthy kind of taste. Cassia, it tastes like dirt. Like it doesn't have much of a great taste at all, but it's got the smell. And, some very clever people at high levels of different supermarket chains have worked out if you pump that smell everywhere in a supermarket, people are more likely to come in and then buy your products. So, yeah.
Anyway, your smoothie, but just back to the smoothie to close off the part on the smoothie. No banana or avocado? Like they just...
definitely.
The movie Life of Brian?
Yeah.
The roads, well, they go without saying. What have the Romans ever done for us? There is the aqueduct. I feel very... From the Monty Python perspective, a banana and avocado, well, they just go without saying in a smoothie, but not for you?
I struggle with bananas.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. But avocado definitely. I would use avocado.
I just judged you. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. To be fair, I do if I'm making it for someone else. A frozen banana because texture, like you get the
it's just more creamy.
Yeah,
you can have it with a spoon.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to really watery.
Yeah. Okay. I just struggle a bit with banana in my smoothies.
All right,
It's just if you get a chunk of it, I can't. Yeah, no good. Don't like the texture.
Okay.